Welcome back to Making the Jump podcast, where we chat all things business, entrepreneurship and property. I'm Kafilat.
And I'm Rebecca, and we're here to journey with you as you make the jump into something you absolutely love. Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Rebecca.
I'm Kafilat.
And this is Making the Jump. Today we have a lovely guest joining us called Cindy.
Woo!
Hi.
Woo,
Guys.
Home Unit Properties. How are you doing, Cindy?
I'm good, thank you. I'm excited to be on here and get chatting away, so feel free to throw me any questions.
Oh, they're coming.
On the way. One thing we were wondering, Cindy, before we dive into your property journey is where's home for you? Because we've been trying to work it out from your Instagram, but you are here, there, and everywhere. I feel like home is the motorway for you in the car.
Yeah, it actually is. So I was actually saying to Shaun the other day that, not to sound sad, but nowhere feels like home at the moment because we moved out. So I'm based in Wimbledon and Shaun is based in South Croydon. We have a property together in South Croydon, but that's being rented out and used under the rent-to-rent strategy at the moment. And so we've kind of moved back in with parents, but we're all over the place. We have nowhere at the moment where it's like set. And for example, I had work today and had no work clothes at my mum's house. So had to get Shaun to drive down to be like, can you bring me clothes? I literally have no office clothes. So yeah, I'm based and I grew up in Wimbledon. But yeah, Shaun is from like South Croydon area. And then I don't know if you want culturally as well.
Yeah, go for it.
Please. I'm interested about this one.
Yeah.
Culturally, I'm from Nigeria. And so yeah, my parents are Yoruba. I don't speak it. I've got too much of the British accent to be able to do it and pull it off.
Me too.
I definitely understand.
Me
So,
too.
yeah.
No, sorry, I forgot to tell you that actually the rest of the podcast is going to be in Yoruba. So
Right. This is awkward. I should probably
This will
sign
be
up
very
now.
awkward because I can't speak it that well either.
I can't speak at all.
So
But
I
I can
feel
like
like
join sentences, but it doesn't make sense.
Me too. I feel like it will be a very quiet podcast if we was to do that.
Definitely.
that's brilliant. Nice to know that you guys are from South London. I'm from Croydon myself, so it feels like not too far.
Nice.
No.
So we also want to know, where are you on your journey? We know you work full time because we were tuning into your podcast. Feel free to give your podcast a bit of a plug, but tell us where you're at on your journey in terms of like work, being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So I still work full time. I won't give away my job because the two truths and a lie I've kind of put in there.
Okay.
That wasn't clever. But yeah, I do work 9 to 5. And I'm still working, I guess. So we're looking at stepping down from work and quitting or going part-time. But I have been really afraid of doing that just because I've always had consistent income. I think we've always been comfortable with money until we started property, and that challenged us to really understand what comfortable means and what it looks like. And it's literally a paycheck away from being in hell, basically. So we were like, we can't really go on with managing work and then growing and scaling up with the business as well. So I'm possibly looking to quit in the next couple of months, and then Shaun will be going part-time and then eventually quit. So
that's amazing.
That
is amazing, because when I like look at you guys' stories, I don't know how you like juggle work and like being at properties that it's not even like that they're close to your house, because it's still quite a distance from where you live. Like, how do you juggle property management, doing the Airbnb SA business and work? Because I see on your Instagram sometimes you're there till 1 a.m, 2 a.m, then you have to go to work the next day. How is that?
Yeah, that is hard to juggle. I think I have more meltdowns than Shaun does. Because I am at work, I love my job. I love working in the setting that I work in. I'm trying to be discreet here. It's gonna slip out at some point, but I'm trying not to. Yeah, I do really love my job. And when I give property full attention, I can't give my job full attention. And my job's quite a serious role, so I do
Mm.
get really frustrated when I miss things at work, or I miss things in property because I've not been able to manage, and then it really does affect me with my phone. I've always been bad with my phone, but like in my head, I always think I respond to things, and I haven't responded. And then there's like four messages. I'm like, when did the four message? I'm sure I responded to that. So,
Mm,
I think it's really hard to juggle, which is probably why we need
Mm.
to start to take those changes. Um, but yeah, I think Sean's is a little bit more difficult because he's shift work. So
Oh.
although it gives him the flexibility of if he starts on a late shift at 6 p.m., he can do viewings and stuff during the day. It means
mhm,
the
Mm.
whole day he's going and running on energy that probably fades out about 7 o'clock. So yeah,
mm,
it's not easy, but we
Nice.
we get there. We try.
okay.
No, amazing. Um, I just want to go back just a little bit. Like, what
Mm,
was you up to prior to property?
Mm, that's a good question. I like don't remember anything before then.
Really? You've
It's
literally
so
just
weird.
blacked it out.
Blacked out, like removed it from my memory. And I think, you know what it was? Is I think just because before we started, we were lockdown had happened.
right.
So
Mm.
that really, and I think a lot of people that made them really look at life and decide
Yeah.
whether are you enjoying the things you do? Do you feel fulfilled? Are you serving your purpose kind of thing?
Mm.
Um, and so before, again, not in like a sob story type of way, but I was feeling really low and I just felt like I was
Mm.
just doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was just like same routines of just going to work, coming back, watching TV for long periods of time, watching
Yeah.
trash
Hmm.
TV, Geordie
Yeah.
Shore, anything where
Love
things are
that.
chaotic, sign me up at
Yeah.
that point, and I'm still guilty of it now.
Yeah.
Um, Less now than I was before, but it was just the same
Mm.
cycle of boringness. Like I just couldn't, I can't even tell you what my routine was. So I didn't have one. It was just kind of just getting by and then doing
Yeah.
things
Just
like,
living.
yeah, I
Is
didn't really
is
do
it
anything
is
I
is it
enjoyed.
kind of like watching life go like pass you by a little bit?
Yeah,
You're
Mm,
just
yeah,
existing.
yeah. And it just shocked me. I was just like, wow, like this is actually how we live with no knowledge of anything else. We're not pushing
Mm.
ourselves every day. Like even if I didn't do property, I would have wanted to do something that pushes me out of my comfort zone.
mm,
Yeah.
And so yeah, like before that is a distant memory. I still hold on to it, but
Mm.
I can't tell you what I did because it was just lack of routine. There was just nothing in it. There
Mm.
was nothing to it. So yeah,
I guess you probably remember how you felt. Maybe not what you was doing, but maybe like emotionally how you felt. I guess you don't want to go
definitely.
back to how you were living then.
Yes, yeah, I was not, I just wasn't challenging myself. I thought I was having
Mm.
fun. I was on holidays, I was doing things, but like when like it's weird to ask me that question because I actually can't remember because it was filled with
Wow.
nothingness. I was
oh,
just doing
wow.
nothing. I
Wow.
was doing what we all do when we have nothing else to kind of serve purpose for.
Mhm.
Mm.
And I thought I was enjoying myself, but then I just figured out actually I'm not, and I prefer being somewhere that I'm challenged and in a space where I'm challenged. So yeah.
Mm.
It's quite
So
profound, actually, and I bet a lot of
yeah.
people relate to that, particularly during COVID.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
what would you say was the moment that you was like, no, I've had enough of this. I'm ready to make a change. I'm ready to make the jump into something new. What was that moment for you?
Mm.
Okay, I'm gonna paint the scene for you guys, right?
Oh,
Let's go.
beautifully.
I
Let's
remember
go.
this. Okay. So I had gone through a period of again lockdown and
Mm.
seen some things like popping up in my feed, YouTube, like, do you want to make £1,000 like in a day? And I'm like, yeah. But didn't really pay too much mind to it. It was like, oh yeah, it all sounds good, but not really gonna happen to me. And then I just run myself a bubble bath. That's my self-care. Like I
Yeah.
won't do anything else but just run a bubble bath and just listen to music or do something. Now, I'm not a reader. I don't have the attention span to read before, right? Um,
Same.
and so I got an Audible. We're saying the same, a lot of things here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, um, I got an Audible and it was Good Vibes, Good Life, Good Life, Good Vibes. Should know the
Okay, we'll have
title.
Mm.
to look that
With
up.
Vex King, really good book. And
Mm.
I just thought, let me just put it on Audible. Someone bought it for me as a gift actually. So I put it on Audible because I was too lazy. So I read the book but listened to the Audible at the same time. Too lazy to kind of concentrate. And I feel like the bath water just got so cold because I was in there just absorbing
Wow.
all the information. And that for me, just all the information, I could just relate to a lot of things, just like upbringing, understanding income, understanding money, working till you're like 65 but getting nothing.
Mm.
Mm.
And that was the moment I was like, ran to Sean when he got back and was like, listen, like we've got to change. This is not it.
Wow.
Yeah, so I remember that,
Mm.
and that was lockdown. I think it was like
Yeah.
maybe that, yeah, maybe towards the end of
Mm.
lockdown. But yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely remember that
And
part.
what did Shaun say when you ran up to him?
You know what? That guy's a good guy because he lets me do all my crazy stuff and just nods. And he's like, yeah, this is another one of her ideas. Here she goes again.
Shout out
Um,
to Shaun.
yeah, so um yeah, he just kind of was like, okay, no, I get you, I understand, like, and we just had a chat about how we're going to move forward and how we're going to make these kind of things happen, and certain things that we're not doing so well as a couple, individually,
Hmm.
like life goals. And yeah, I think
Mm.
that's kind of where it began. It started as a small conversation. I think it was even like
Yeah.
15 minutes, but
Yeah.
that conversation was significant to me. I don't
Wow.
know if he'll
Yeah.
ever remember it, but for me that was like my,
Significant.
okay, yeah, yeah, like, okay,
Mm.
we can do this.
And then
So yeah.
how did you land on property
Yeah.
specifically?
Mm, yeah.
Mm.
So I started with one of the free online ones, and
Mm.
I think again it was one of those ads were popping up. And at first I saw the Samuel Leeds one.
Yeah.
But I thought, oh, this guy's saying so much about money. I just don't believe it. I just don't believe it. So I
Hmm.
went to somebody else who seemed a little bit more reserved. Um, but I learned a lot, but I couldn't put the work into practice.
Hmm.
Um, and so I just started signing up from the online courses that were all free. I
Hmm.
would say I can't remember whose it was, but they were free, but there was a lot of information. I was just overwhelmed by the information.
Mm.
And then I
Mm.
stumbled across the £1 crash course, and then went into the academy with Samuel Leeds.
Hmm.
But that all happened in a short space of time. So although I wanted to start around lockdown,
Yeah.
couldn't start. I don't know why I couldn't start, but I knew that I wanted to start. And then it took us into 2021 where we started to do the online trainings.
Yeah.
Um, and then we eventually got into 2022, and then we were like,
Hmm.
no, okay, we can't keep taking baby steps because we were starting and then like not getting anywhere,
Stopping.
stopping, and
Hmm.
it was just like we found it like that we couldn't do anything. We were like, well, they're saying this is easy, and when it's not happening, then
Yeah.
why is it happening? And then we finally stumbled across the £1 crash course, and that's how we got
Mm.
into.
Okay.
Wow.
So then
That's amazing.
Sam Leeds was your sort of entrance then to
Yeah,
property.
Yeah.
He was
yeah,
for me as well, definitely. I think
Me
it's really
yeah.
too.
opening the door for people.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
In terms of like, because you'd known about property from like about 2020-ish, what
Mm,
do you think stopped you? Was it like mindset, belief in
mm,
yourself that stopped you from going past a certain point, then stopping, then stop starting, that kind of thing?
yeah. Work was a big one for me.
Mm.
I'm very much someone like if I don't like my workplace or space, managers, or I can't, like, I'm not easy in the workplace. I'm one of those people you tell me to come in the office and I'm like, hell no, like it's not gonna happen. You cannot get me in. So if I start to feel like I can't challenge the way I like to challenge, then I'm gone
Mm.
basically. And so I wasn't very stable in my roles that I was in. I
Hmm.
was kind of moving about to try and find a space that I could kind of call home within work.
Yeah.
So that had thrown me off. And then we were still figuring out what we were going to do to kind of make money. Were we going to move out of the property that we owned, or were we going to stay in it and maybe rent out the other room? And so there was a lot going on during that period. Again, everything
Hmm.
feels like so distant. So I'm trying to put my finger on it. But I think
Yeah.
mainly it came down to self-belief. And
Mm.
as soon as we hit one hurdle, like we'd just stop. And we didn't know how to
Right.
persevere and push forward.
Right.
So a lot of it came down to belief and whether we could do it, and maybe it just started questioning whether it was for us or not.
Hmm.
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm keen to know, well, first of all, hats off to you for owning a property in London.
Thank
Ooh,
you.
the amount of work that must have taken, like, then they're not cheap. So well done. And just for, getting your foot on the ladder in that way. Hats off to
Hmm.
you, definitely. I'm really keen to hear what your strategy is now.
Okay. So the strategy is so weird because it is important to know which strategy you're going for when you first start off, I believe.
Hmm.
But I am, and Shaun is quite creative. So we do mainly the rent to rent strategy,
Hmm.
which is basically renting a property from the landlord and then renting it out to companies, and charging a higher nightly rate, basically.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
we do that strategy a lot, but we also have a mini HMO. we will adapt things so to basically suit us and bump up the money and the income. That's what we aim
Hmm.
to do. But yeah, our main strategy is rent to service accommodation, but we're looking into BRRs and flips this year, and that
Oh,
is our
nice.
goal by the end of the year. So yeah.
No, amazing. So when like looking for like rent to rent deals, how do you find the deals?
Everyone wants to know this.
Okay.
That's a hot one, so I thought I'll ask it.
Okay. So how to find the deals?
Mm,
You can do it various ways. My favorite is open rent and ones where they're direct to landlord, not because it cuts out estate agents. There's nothing personal to estate agents at all. I just think it's easier to show yourself
mm-hmm.
and deliver yourself as a package. I think it's much
Yeah,
harder between when you have a middleman like the estate agent for the estate agent to create the person that you are and
yeah,
the person the landlord wants to work with.
yeah,
So I would say things like open rent. You can do Gumtree. We found some properties on Gumtree before. You can find some on Facebook Marketplace, but be careful because a lot of them
yeah.
can be fake ads.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your typical route, which is through estate agents who are happy to work with companies.
Companies, yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's pretty much the way that we found a lot of our portfolio. But I know there's so many other ways that you can do that. You can send letters through posts. You can,
Yeah.
yeah, there's so many ways you can reach out, but that's our main strategy.
So you,
Mm.
how many rent to rents do you have?
So we just signed one, and contracts were just signed yesterday. So we're now on our eighth.
Eight. Well, I feel like we got
Congratulations.
congratulations. Yeah, I
Thank
feel like we
you.
got 6, 7, and 8 all within like a few
Yes.
weeks.
Yeah. So it's so weird because it was like full circle because that same thing happened to us last year, November into December into January.
Mm.
So we literally had three that were like one after the other. So
Yeah,
this is our eighth. We did originally have nine, and we haven't really spoken about it because it does include other people, where we put money into the into like the JV.
yeah.
Also we were the finance and they were the time. Didn't work out
Mm-hmm.
great, so we had to end the contract with the landlord.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was just crazy. So much that was happening. There was a fire in the building because of gas. Like there was just
Oh
so
wow.
much happening because it wasn't managed the way that it needed to be managed.
Mm.
And in hindsight, when you're working in a team, so much can go wrong if you don't
Mm-hmm.
set those boundaries or be clear in the contracts. And we were all
Mm-hmm.
so new in our journey. It was at the beginning that we made this like alliance. But in
Yeah.
hindsight, great people just didn't work. But yeah, so we did have nine, but then now that one's gone since summer.
Mm-hmm.
We want to dig a little bit deeper into some property disasters as well. So feel
Yeah,
free to share some of those in a few minutes. I just want to
yeah,
go back to something you mentioned. You mentioned JV. So that
yeah,
stands for joint venture.
yeah, yeah,
Any tips for going into a joint venture with someone? Things to think
yeah.
about before you venture?
Contracts. I don't care about anything else. Get a contract. I don't care if that's your best friend, your uncle, your sister. Get a contract. I
Yeah.
don't. The main thing for me is that everyone needs to be happy from the beginning. So if you
Yes.
can't even agree on the contract, it's not going to make sense to go in business. So
Hmm.
into business with each other. So I always say the main thing before doing anything else is the contract. Be clear with one another. Be clear with the expectations, and have that down. Like to a T in the contract, what your role
Mm-hmm.
is as the person putting in the time and what the person's role is who is putting in the money, and time frames when you aim to get this money back to the JV partner who's funding the deal. So yeah, my main advice always is the contract.
Okay, that's so helpful. Thank you. And
Mm.
then just circling back again, so you've got 8 rent to rent, and then am I right in thinking you've got your own property in South Croydon that where you're the landlord and someone does rent to rent off of you?
But yeah, so that's included. I always forget, but that is actually included in the eight. So
Okay,
it
Mm.
is we do own our own property, which makes it easier, makes the cost a lot lower.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we cover like the mortgage or the bills, all the things that we need to cover, and then
Mm-hmm.
the rest is profit for us. So
Is it
I
Right.
weird seeing it from both sides, being the
definitely,
landlord and being the rent to renter?
definitely, well, I shouldn't say, but I'm going to, so Sean can tell me off after. But I asked Sean, would you pass it on to another company to manage? He was like,
Mm.
no, like we absolutely wouldn't. But it's because I think a part of that is because we can do it ourselves, but
Mm.
also we now understand how it feels for a landlord to pass on a property that's your first property or
Yeah.
sentimental to you. Um,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like he was saying, the reason mainly would be because this is the first one. If it was like many others after that, fine, fair, but this is like the one you put your blood, sweat, and tears into.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, he finds that one really difficult to hand over. But yeah, from it definitely made us respect landlords a lot more.
Yeah.
Seeing it from the other side and how difficult it is to let go of your property and to trust
Yes.
someone you don't know, you've never met, you don't know how they work. They could show you all the
Mhm.
photos in the world. You could get so
Yeah.
many references, but essentially you've never worked with them before.
Yeah, it's a
So
big,
Yeah.
yeah, it
big
made us
step.
understand it on a deeper level, really.
No,
Definitely.
amazing. And what is it you're saying to landlords in order
Mm,
to secure these rents to make them see your vision and to make them see that it's a good opportunity for them as well as it is for you?
Mm.
yeah, I just smile and hope for the best, really. Um, I do. I'm honest. I think the main thing that we always want to be, no matter who we're in contact with, no matter the purpose we have a conversation with someone, is to be transparent and to be honest. If I can't do something for you that you are requesting from me as a landlord, I have to be open and say, I can't do that, but you know what? I know a really great company who can, or I can't provide that level of experience, but I know a really great company who can, and working it that way. So I think we
Mhm.
always kind of say, introduce ourselves, let them know how much properties we've got on our portfolio. At the start, when we didn't have a portfolio, we'd say, listen, we are really new, but we're excited to get this going. We're excited to do a really good job so that other landlords will trust us with your property.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think just being transparent and letting them know what you can bring to the table to make things easier for them is the
Mhm.
way that we go with it, to be honest.
Amazing. That's really helpful. And I think one thing we want to touch on your property disasters, but one question, a sneaky one I want to throw in there, because I look at your amazing portfolio and I think these guys have balls of steel. I just think, you ever get nervous that you're not going to be able to pay the landlord if you
Yeah,
haven't broken even that month? Like,
yeah.
how do you feel like emotionally of the weight of 8 properties rent on your shoulders or 7 properties rent?
Yeah, we fully felt that this winter. Um,
Mm.
and I'm a big believer of telling people, anyone who's going to get into property, do not listen to, you make £1,000 a month, you make this a month. It's not real, it's not true, and it doesn't happen. And it's not to put people off, but if you're coming into property, you have to know you're going to have a barrier every step of the way. There's something that you're going to have to overcome. Tuesday might be a
Mm.
great day, but on Friday you might have 3 guests calling you that the shower's not working, all
Yeah.
these kind of things. And a part of that is making the rent at the end of the month or whenever your due date is. We had that this winter, but because we have never spent our money, we always save. And like the first year, I would encourage people to save their money, not to spend anything unless you're out of work. Limit yourself. If you can manage on £500, do that a month. If you can manage on £1,000, do that a month.
Mhm.
Go down in what your spending is and manage it that way. But yeah, I would say we've definitely experienced that, but we've also always been prepared. Um, and it's not nice, but it's the part of the property business.
Mhm.
And you do overcome it if you program yourself in a certain way that kind of perseveres each time.
So you just have to sort of firm the winter. Get
Yes.
through the winter, because apparently statistics are showing that this winter is a lot quieter in terms of bookings than it was last. So I don't know
Yeah.
if something's going on within
Mm,
society, or maybe
mm,
people are just doing more things remotely. So your
yeah.
strategy wouldn't be to panic and give the properties back, but
No.
you just try and use your sort of buffer money to
Yeah.
get through, because
Yeah.
summer's much better.
Mm.
Summer is much, much better. I just say the first year is the year that you'll know the trends. So you'll know what months work well, you'll know the types of bookings you're going to get. You know, like in the winter for us in Reading, the main bookings that we get are companies. In the summer, it
Mhm.
becomes families who want long stays,
Mhm.
coming to visit families from abroad. And just we get a variety in the summer, but it's mainly winter, our companies. So we're relying on the companies to pay our rent for us, essentially. Um,
Mhm.
so I think the main thing is being prepared, knowing the trends, studying like what works in the area, what doesn't work, and from about August, probably even before that, July, making contact with companies. Hey, we're going to be doing 50% off, nights for the first week
Mm.
of January. Do you want this?
Mhm.
Just sending out loads of messages and bombarding people. Don't be afraid to bombard people. They'll either like it and want your discount or they won't and they'll switch off. But either way, you'll never know unless you try. So
Mhm.
yeah, just being prepared for the winter months. That's really all you can do.
Where are you finding those companies?
So a lot of our direct bookings are companies that have reached out to us on Airbnb, booking.com, and then we
Mm-hmm.
convert them into direct bookings.
Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And then we keep them on our systems and we send emails and we let them know that we're available and what we have available.
Mm-hmm.
And we just try to keep in contact. It is overwhelming and like something we want to get better with and get
Yeah.
better at, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just means that when we're getting the information in and we have somebody who stays for 12 nights, we want to ask, why have you stayed for so long? That 12
Mm-hmm.
nights is a long time to stay.
It
You know,
is.
people usually just book for a weekend or a Thursday to
Mm-hmm.
Sunday. So why are you
Mm-hmm.
there for 12 nights? And that usually is businesses or a family who are relocating or they're having their kitchen redone, they can't be there, and those
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
situations. Your kitchen's never done in 12 days, probably going to take them another week. Would you like to stay with us? We'll offer you a
Yeah.
discount. So having the conversations with your guests and taking those and converting them into direct bookings, and then also
Yeah.
sending letters, emails to companies that you see, in vans while you're on the motorway. Oh, don't know, they might be on the motorway for a reason. Are they going to stay somewhere? Yeah, and just doing it that way.
That's clever. I like that
That
most
is.
idea.
Yeah.
Because when I was thinking about which companies to target, I was thinking it's not going to be the ones in that town because they're in that town. But then I was like, but I don't know which other
Mm,
companies in which other towns want that. It's not like that information's on the website, you know. So, but looking
mm,
at who's coming in and who's
yeah.
actually parking in different hotel car parks in the night. Me and Dave keep saying
Mm-hmm.
we're going to do that. Go and have
Yeah.
a little look. That's really, really good
Yeah.
advice. Thank you.
Mm.
No
So
problem.
yeah, so what I've taken away from that, a lot of people say like SA service accommodation is passive, but from what you've described, it is like hella active, like
Oh gosh.
super active, like trying to get those secure those direct bookings, making sure everything's going swimmingly, especially when you're managing it yourself. Um, so yeah, so hats off to you. It's not easy. Plus a full-time job. Plus a full-time job. I
Yeah.
know like it's you and Shaun, your partner,
Mhm.
in the business. How easy is it working with your partner, or how difficult can it be working with a partner?
How much time have we got here? No, he's actually great, you know. We're not like a soppy couple. Like we're not that kind of couple, but this has really made us learn to complement each other even more because that without him, I don't know how people do run companies on their own.
Yeah.
Mm,
But if he lets me do my crazy, like I will just wake up midnight and be like, "Oh yeah, what if we do this?" And he's like, "Okay, we could try it. It could work." But he's also a lot more stubborn. I never said that, but he is a lot more
it's
stubborn. So also helps because where I'm quite like just jump and it doesn't matter if there's something to catch us at the bottom. Sometimes he reels me back in and will be like, "No, pause. Have we looked at this? Have we done that? Okay, now this looks like a good decision, or it doesn't look like a good decision because we can't back it up with evidence." So I think we work really well together, but there are times where we definitely do knock heads and we're like, "We'll be back in
mhm,
10 minutes. You calm down, I'll calm down, and let's try again."
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it
100%.
does work.
I can relate to that. I work with my husband Dave, part of Abide Property Management. And in many ways, we're like chalk and cheese. We're so different, but somehow it works really well.
Yeah, yeah,
I'd say Dave is quite detail orientated. So he likes meticulously will plan things out carefully. Whereas I'm just like, come on, let's get it done.
yeah,
Let's get in the car.
yeah,
Come on.
yeah.
I don't need to weigh up the pros and cons of this pink rug versus the blue rug. Just get two
Same.
blue ones and be done. In the car, Bob's your uncle. Let's all have a patty and sit down.
Exactly, exactly. That is it. I'm exactly the same with that.
So sometimes we kind of clash heads over that. And I think I can miss details sometimes because I've not thought things through, but also I get the job done. And you know what it's like in rent serviced accommodation, you got to get things over the line quickly because every night that you're not open for business is
Yeah,
money coming out of your pocket.
definitely,
Yeah, it
definitely.
definitely has its pros and cons, but I'd say overall it's a very positive experience. What tips would you give to someone who's thinking of becoming a co-preneurial CEO, as it says on your Instagram, which I'm guessing means you work with your partner as a co-preneur?
Yes. So I would say, again, it's about being clear. No one is exempt from that contract. Obviously, Sean and I don't have a contract in place, but we have a verbal agreement. Like we know
Yeah,
times are becoming overwhelming and it's causing more chaos because you're going to argue. I mean, at the beginning when we were trying to find our balance, we were arguing a lot more than usual. And I know how
Mm,
to argue, right? Like I'm trained in arguing.
Okay.
But like we learned how to kind of put in the boundaries that were needed for both of us to function within this business and
mm,
reminded each other of that we have the same goal, so we're on the same team. So I think anybody who's going to be working in with their partner or with someone, even like a family member, just anybody they're super close to, um, I would say making sure that you guys have the same end goal and
mhm,
making sure you have a similar process to get there. Because if you don't have a similar process and one is more happy to do something that's out of the box than the other person, it can really cause issues. So just making sure, yeah, that you're in agreement with the process and the end goal, and I think you'll be
mm.
fine.
That's really good. Really good advice. Thank
That is
you.
very helpful. Um, when it comes, I want to know how long you and Shaun have been together. Like,
Yeah,
how
when
Yeah,
did
did
you
you
guys
meet?
meet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at uni and he was
Hmm.
at uni with his friends, but he was working, so he's always worked from 18. I think he went into um TFL straight away. They do a
Hmm.
program. So all his friends went to the uni route and he went into that route. So whilst
Hmm.
all his uni, we all met and then I met him that way. And then we've been
Hmm.
together for 10 years.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
lovely.
So this October, so it's
Wow.
been a long time. So yeah, I mean, stuck with me
Is
at
he
this
good?
point.
Get some rings, girl. Get some
That's
rings.
right,
Literally,
yes.
I was about
Yeah.
to say that as well.
Send
Like,
him a
when is
message,
he going to
bombard him,
secure? When is
bombard
he
him.
going to secure the goods?
Come
Yeah,
When
I
is he
on.
going to
know.
secure you?
Come on, save up
Yeah,
that
I
rent,
know.
Sean. Save up that rent. Start a little
Save
secret
it.
account. I
Save it.
see
I know.
the boxes behind you. Come on, Sean. Fill up a trainer box. Get that
Exactly,
ring.
exactly. We have spoken about it. I mean, it's so weird because the younger me was like, I want to be married again, very naive, by 22, and I want
Me
seven
Yes.
kids,
too.
and they
Yes.
Me
need to be in the
too.
football team. I want them in a van. I want to be like tooting in the car, getting number one, two, three, four, and like, I'm like, you know what? Although I'm excited for marriage, I feel like the development just personally between both of us has been so
Mm,
exciting to see. So
mm,
I I know a lot of people say to me, oh, like 10 years. I had someone say to me the other day, like 10 years, that's crazy. Like, are you not going to be married soon? And I was like,
yeah,
I don't know, but I'm kind of past that. Like, of course I want to be married, but at the
yeah.
same time, I'm so happy with our growth and our position in life at the moment
Hmm.
and the
Hmm.
journey that
Yeah,
marriage, that proposal just be an added plus, but still
yeah.
you need to be up. So anybody,
It still needs to happen, but right now you're in the process of just leveling up,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
And
So
you'll
No.
know each other so well.
Hmm.
yes,
So well. And you've
yeah.
survived a pandemic. And I think couples that made it through the pandemic, like we got married,
Mm,
came back from our honeymoon, and then 8 weeks later went into a pandemic. So the
gosh,
first 2 years or 18 months of our like marriage was just sat on the sofa next to each other,
yeah,
watching Boris
Mm,
Johnson videos every day, wondering what was going to happen. And I think you guys have also survived a pandemic, and I think it can either make you or break you. Again,
yeah.
starting a business together can either make you or break you. So yeah, you guys are on a good track, I think.
Thank you.
Well, just to lower the tone a little bit,
Mm.
talk about something a little bit trickier. Please, can you tell us, Cindy, some of your property disasters
Oh gosh, yes,
and
I
how you
can.
dealt with them?
Yeah, I can. So when we first set up our properties, the first day we were abroad, like celebrating that we've gone into property, we're going into the new year, abroad somewhere, and somebody booked. It was one night, and it was on the 31st into the 1st of Jan 2023.
hmm
And we were just so excited that was our first booking. We didn't even think, like, what do people do on the 31st into the first? They party, obviously. But we didn't think,
Wow.
we didn't
You were
think
just
that
happy
that
with the
I
booking.
was
You were
like,
happy with the
money, like,
pounds,
yes,
yeah.
I can spend. Great. Like we didn't think anything too much. We just didn't think anything of it. And so we had a cleaner in place, and we also had my sister who like delivered the keys because we didn't have anything set up properly. We didn't have the lockbox, nothing. We didn't have systems because it's really interesting in property. You get taught how to secure the property, but the after, it's like I was like, what
It's a
happens next?
minefield.
Yeah, I was like, what happens? I've listed it. Like, what happens next? So we hadn't put any of the proper things in place. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, there was a couple. They originally booked for 4 people. And then our cleaners went in the next day and were like, this is broken, this has blood on it. And it
Oh,
wasn't
wow.
bad, but for us, considering we just set up, like
Um,
this is the first booking,
it's the
we were like,
That's
shock.
oh,
awful.
Shock.
yeah, like I just was like, why? And then we went into panic and overload and started searching this girl on Instagram. And I was like, she was having a party. They're doing flips on the sofa. And it actually makes me go crazy because I just didn't know to expect this. I know they say oh parties, but I didn't know.
Mm,
I just didn't think, I
yeah,
don't know. I just didn't think that it would happen to us.
yeah,
I don't know
So
why I thought
yeah.
I was.
how did you deal with that then?
Yeah. So we just got our cleaners to go in and do the cleans. And we still hadn't learnt our lessons at that point. We honestly hadn't. No, we thought, okay, this is a one-off.
Mhm.
We did get a ring doorbell, but still didn't get all the other things in place, like security deposits. This took us a while. We probably were like 6 months in before we realized
Wow.
it's really important. Um,
Yeah.
because it's all added extra costs, for
Mm-hmm.
things like listing. But for that one, we got a ring doorbell, and we thought that was going to help it.
Mm-hmm.
And then in April, which was 4 months after we'd set up, um, we then had two incidents a week after each other. I think they were a week or a few days. One was at that same property from the 1st of Jan.
Mm-hmm.
Girls underage who booked and had their boyfriends or their crushes there. But as she turned 18, some of the girls were 17 and some of them were older. They smoked in the property, they drank in the property, they used their cigarette ends to like burn the table. It was just extra. And we had to,
Mayhem.
yeah. And we were so
Wow.
annoyed because I had work the next day, but I
Oh,
drove up there and Shaun was like, you need to get out. But because of my background, I was like, you know, they need to be safe and like let's let them stay. And then literally 5 minutes after we drive off, the next day we look at the camera and they smuggled the boys back in. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, so that was long. And then the following week, we still hadn't learned. The following week, we then had someone turning 18. She invited all her friends. Like this was a group. Like there must have been about 20, 25 people at the
gosh.
property. Someone was doing something upstairs, bled all over the sofa, the bed. It was just the floors were sticky. Um, but Shaun was there. I was living my best life in London, having fun for my friend's birthday, and poor Shaun had to drive up, even though he had a day of like gaming planned.
mm,
Um, yeah, so that one we had then realized we need to start taking security deposits, and that's when we joined Avivo. I'm so sorry, but I'm going to say my opinion. I didn't enjoy Avivo, but uplisting I think is amazing.
mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's when we started to get the security deposits, guest IDs, and them to sign a rental agreement. And yeah, that's how we manage it now, and it's worked so much smoother. You're still going to have
Mm-hmm.
some issues, but we manage it a lot better.
When you say
Yeah.
rental agreement, you don't mean AST, do you? You just mean like
So
contract, terms and
yeah,
conditions. Is that right? Okay,
yeah,
brilliant.
that's correct. Yeah.
That's helpful.
No,
Yeah.
I feel like from that people can learn like systems, especially in the SA business, is super important.
So important. It's so important. You don't want to lose money at the end of the day. You want
Mm-hmm.
to make money. And
Yeah.
like we're not one of those people who just take deposits. I don't think that's fair and I wouldn't like that done to me.
Yeah.
However, we are very clear in terms of our expectations and if things are damaged, things are lost, we are charging you for that and it makes it easier to just remove it from the security deposit than beg and
Yeah.
plead with a guest and go AWOL and you don't know how to claim that
So,
money back.
in what instance would you charge for a security deposit and what instance would you not?
Okay, so we're quite clear in terms of guest, like if they lose the keys, if they lose permit passes, um, if they damage things and don't report to us, we know accidents happen. Um, for example, we recently had a new mirror that we set up in our London essay. It fell, and the guest, she was so lovely, but she didn't tell us. And so I was like, well, now there were so many things. It wasn't just that, there were so many other things that had kind of broken in the property that they just didn't report. And I kind of just said, well, had you let us know, then we wouldn't have to have taken that deposit. But now we have to send somebody out to fix things. The door was locked. We've had to spend £250 on the door. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's accidental things, and I never think that people have the intent to be malicious in your home, but they're
Mm,
not going to their home, so they're not going to be as careful.
mm,
And so yeah, Anything where it goes against our rental agreement or they haven't reported something whilst it's happening, we will take deposits for that. Um, but we try
And
not
is
to
that
take full deposits. Mm.
before they arrive, or do you just keep their card details on file?
So before they arrive, they're sent a link. The link
Okay.
they need to complete, and that's the guest ID, the security deposit, and then they sign the rental agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so when we have any issues, we can just pull the security deposit without even having to ask them. We obviously
Mm.
do tell them and give them the opportunity to explain in case actually it wasn't them and it was a previous guest or they have evidence that it had nothing to do with them.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that's pretty much how we pull it.
that's really good
Wow.
to know.
Do you
And
find like getting like security deposits and all that sort of stuff, like the number of guests you get, do you see a decline in like the people that book because you have to do all of that security measures? For some listings, you just book and away you go. But having these measures in place, you feel like that sort of detracts from like people booking, would you say?
Yeah, it definitely does, and I think it's anybody who doesn't want to stay at the property for good reasons. So I'm happy for you to not stay at the property or for it to put you off because I
yeah,
know that your intention isn't to be there and respect the home. Um,
Mm,
so I think that's another added reason you will not attract guests who just want to spend £100 and then party in your house.
yeah,
We
mm,
do have questions and they're like, is this link real? But then we explain to them, well, if it wasn't real, a lot of our reviews would say that they never received money back, or
yeah,
Airbnb wouldn't allow it on their systems for it to be sent. But you're more than welcome to question this with Airbnb and Booker.com, and then they just pay it. So
yeah.
there's never really a fuss
mm,
around it. Yeah,
mm.
so pretty much how we've managed it.
No guest
No.
better than a bad guest.
Oh, oh,
100%.
Oh wow. I want to know money.
Yeah,
mm,
Let's talk money.
yeah. That's what
What
I
mm,
want to know.
what is
mm.
the typical setup cost associated with like setting up a property?
Yeah, I'm gonna get in trouble because I'm quite outspoken and I like people to know what they're going into. But a lot of
Mm,
people tell you it's 6 grand. It's not 6 grand unless you're getting a small room somewhere, in somebody's house in their back garden. You're not spending 6 grand unless you also don't really care about the decor and what it looks like, and you're not trying to stand out above the rest.
Go
mm.
Shoot me
on.
down. But it takes about, in my opinion, anything between 8.5 to 10K, I think.
Wow.
Makes me feel
Yeah.
so much better.
Yeah, yeah. Don't listen to anybody who tells you it's 6K. It's not 6K. That's a lie. I don't believe it. Someone has to show me a property that only took 6K, and that includes not just the decor. I'm not saying, oh yeah, you spend 10 grand on refurbs, like, or setting up the property nicely. It includes that deposit, that extra month. When you set up, you need to be prepared for that first
Mm,
month because you
yeah.
don't know what it's going to look like. That all includes the 10K. So anyone who is telling you it is 6K, even if I love their company and everything that they stand for and what they do, that information is not good information. We've done it 8 times now. It doesn't take 10K, 6K. It takes about 8 to 10K, no matter the
Wow.
size of the property as well. So just to keep that in mind.
Wow.
It's brilliant to hear because not
Yeah.
saying that. Some people are saying 3K, some
I
people.
hear 3K, I hear 5K.
Oh, so we went into it thinking, oh yeah, 3K will be enough. And then something in our gut just said to us, I don't think this 3K is enough. And then we raised some extra funding because I spent a whole day writing down every single item I was planning to put in the
Yeah,
property. I went through Airbnb's list of amenities. I then got 3 quotes for them online and
yeah.
like did the average price. And I remember for a 2 bedroom flat, it came to like I don't know, 6 or something. And that made me think, so we're going to need a minimum of that at least.
Mhm.
And so we had to raise some additional finance. But it's lovely and refreshing to hear you say it is that little bit higher.
Mm,
Yeah, it definitely is. I think a lot of people I've spoken to have gone into property with the idea that you can get away with just setting up 3K. And a lot of people advertise that. Like, just, everybody has 3K in their bank. Why don't you just, and it's not the case. And by the
yeah.
time you go in, you're thinking of that price, even at 6K. Let's say you do put 6K in and you do try to set up with 6K. There's always
Mm,
something in the property that you find that you have to then do more
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
That's where the costs go. So just be mindful when you're doing your calculations. Yes, you might think it's 6K, but give yourself that extra stretch. I'm always, always over conservative because If not, you're setting yourself up to fail. Um,
Mm,
so yeah, I think yeah, just make sure that you give yourself the extra room because
yeah.
it doesn't take 3K. It's definitely way more than that.
And do you know what?
Wow.
Us on a project we've worked on recently, fire
Mm,
doors.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I
fire
know,
doors and
I know.
joiners. How much a joiner costs? Do you know what? If
Hmm.
property doesn't work out, I might become a joiner because the amount of money. Honestly.
But yeah, when it comes to like funding like the deals you find, do you tend to
Hmm.
raise finance for it, or are you just using your own money for that?
Yeah, so I think about or four of our deals has been through JVs, and
Mm,
somebody else has funded that. And
mm-hmm,
again, we thought at the start we needed to put our money in. Everyone says, "Oh, why don't you just joint venture?" And we're like, "It's going to be hard. Like, how do you find someone and they just give you your money,
mm,
give you their money, sorry." But people will because they're already at a certain level in property, or they don't really have the knowledge, but they see that you're doing other things. So, yeah, we have half of our portfolio with somebody else putting in the funds, and then half is from us. So,
no.
So
yeah.
And is it a 50-50 split on the JVs in terms of like profits?
Yes, but not initially. I think
Oh,
anybody who
okay.
puts their money in should get their returns back quicker than the person who didn't put money in.
Yeah,
So
I
either
agree.
do like a 80-20 split or a 90-10 split. I would recommend the 80-20 because your time is still valuable. But at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, if someone wants a 90-10 from us, I mean, you've put in the money, why not? You want to get your money back fast. I want you to get your money back fast. That's fine. And then after it's 50-50.
Mm, interesting.
they stay as part of the deal,
Yes. Yeah,
even when they're
for us. Yeah, so for our deals, they've stayed as part of the deal. But I know many deals where they get a percentage back on top of the money that they've invested into
Mm-hmm.
um, the deal, and then they work it that way and they pull out after
Yeah.
the given
and
back.
you said something
Mm,
really interesting to me. You said after it was after deal number 5 that you really started to notice the money.
Yeah, for sure. I think one, it depends where you are as well. Like I don't know if this was personal to me or if so many others have, because I've actually never spoken about it that like not that much with other people or other
mm.
companies. But I thought I would start raking in money deal one, deal two, and it was like that's not happening. Then we went to deal three. And I'm like, but I'm counting the pennies, and then we was at four, and I was like, okay, this has got to change because I can't go on. But yeah, it was like around deal five where we started to see the income like
Mm.
shooting up a lot quicker. But at the same
No.
time, it will go down a lot faster because you owe a lot of rent. Like we had
Mm.
on our banking app that I think it was something ridiculous, like 20,000 was coming out the next day. Or stuff, it was something so ridiculous. And I was like, wait, what is going on? And it's all the rent
Wow.
and the bills and everything coming out at the same time.
Yeah.
But it's that crazy that the same way money comes in, it can leave that fast if you don't structure it a
Mm.
right way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So across your eight that you have, what would you say an average month looks like for you, like money
Mm,
wise?
okay, I'm gonna be honest again because I think it
Feel free to
isn't
do
always known.
ballpark.
Say that again, sorry.
Feel free to do ballpark if you don't want to do specific.
No, I'm fine. I think it's just I want to be honest with people. So
Yeah.
any of the summer months that do really, really well,
Mm.
now we've just got the eighth property, but say we had the six, I think, at the time, or the five at the
Mm-hmm.
time. I
Mm-hmm.
think month, I think we made something like 10 to 12K
Is
Wow.
that
um
profit?
profit. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think it was something like that. And then the winter months has been like dry, like December, I thought, what is like going on? And that could be anything between 200, sometimes you're just breaking even. So it
Mm.
really varies, honestly. If
Yeah.
you're really good, what we want to get better at is getting direct bookings. Um,
Mm.
for now, yeah, the winter months can be anything between just breaking even or just making up to maybe like £300 profit. But any profit is good profit to me, so I
Yeah.
don't mind.
So so what when you see numbers like that, so super high in like the summer months, then like just about breaking even in the winter, people might ask why do it?
Mhm.
Like why do you stay consistent, like still acquiring properties? Do you get what I mean? Like why do you continue to do it if it's like like it fluctuates quite a lot?
Yeah. For me, it's actually, and I know it sounds cheesy, but the personal growth and the
Yeah.
confidence.
Mm,
I do not
mm,
speak to people. I don't know how to interact. I'm very much work professional based. Like I outside of that, my friends will tell you I'm a homebody. So for me, it was really developing my skills and me as a person. But
mm,
also, rewards are so great because you're building that portfolio, which means you're bigging up your name essentially, and people are starting to know who you are, know what you do, and then you get into
mm-hmm.
bigger deals, which mean you no longer have to kind of look into service accommodation. Or my end goal is to be in BRRs and flips, and I can't do
Yeah.
that if I start with service accommodation and really start to understand property. But the
Mm-hmm.
rewards in, like I said before, as long as you manage your money, it will filter out properly throughout the whole year round.
Mm,
Um, it's only if you start spending and be like, oh my God, I just made a grand. I'm going on holiday. That's when
yeah.
in the months you will start to feel like, oh my gosh, how do you manage this? And I have to give back a property.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with giving back a property either. When you know that you can't manage it, just don't let a
Mm-hmm.
landlord tell them so that you can move past that.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I got another one
Mm,
that I've always wanted to ask. When you have like break clauses in your contracts, is it a two-way break clause or is it just a one-way break clause?
two-way, for sure, for sure, for sure. You
Really?
need to be able to get out as much as the landlord needs to be able to get out. If you do a
Mm,
6 months in and you're like, gosh, whoever sold me this deal, or when I was calculating this deal, this was all wrong, um, you need to be able to get out with ease. So I do it two ways. I don't know,
mm,
there's probably a lot of people who do it one way, but I'm very big on protecting myself as well as the landlord, and I do
mm,
that through my break clause. So yeah. I don't know if
I've
other
always
people have done
wondered
it another
that
way.
because I always think like, what happens if the landlord triggers it after the 12 months? You've put all this work into the property. What happens then?
Yeah, yeah. I think I've spoken to so many people who's who have left their deals because they couldn't manage the property. And
Mm,
I remember because they didn't have the break clause in, that them and the landlord were going back and forth, but someone kind of just advised, like, if you can't do it, just leave. Like, what are they actually going to do? And I think I've heard that quite a few times. Like when a landlord tells you, it sounds so bad, but really they will just find another tenant. They will. You've gone and you've pretty much left all your stuff in there. They
mm,
will like rent that out and they will make money from it another way. So don't feel bad. It's you that's mostly at a loss rather than the landlord. So just leave. I would always say just leave.
mm.
Good to know.
No,
Full. Um,
interesting.
Changing the topic slightly, we see you've got a brilliant social media following.
Hmm.
Mm,
Just on your
yeah.
Instagram now, 1,300 followers, not to be sniffed at.
Not at all. Not at all.
What
Yeah.
would you say the importance of social media has been for you and Shaun?
Yeah. It's the thing that drives our business the most. It's the tool that we use the most.
Hmm.
I didn't really get it. And again, me and Sean are very different people. Sean loves the camera. I'm like, get me out. I don't want to be here. My profile, my private, like my personal stuff has like barely any pictures. And even if it does, like I don't upload for like once a year, once every 2 years. So I had to learn about social media and what that brings to your business. Um,
Mm.
Also important to to kind of add that we've started up businesses before, so we had a candle business but didn't know how to properly use social media, and
Okay.
Mm.
that hindered us quite a lot. So I think understanding how to use social media, and everyone's into it at the moment. Everyone just, and
Yeah.
it's so quite, it's good but it's sad because everyone just believes everything they see, which is why we
Mm.
try to be as transparent as possible on social media, because
Yeah.
we don't want anyone to see something and be like, but you said on social media, and it's like, well,
Mm.
I now have to be accountable for that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a huge tool, and I would recommend everyone who's starting in
Mm.
property to grow their following, to interact with people, even if you're not big on doing videos of yourself. Like
Yeah.
get recordings of your viewings, get recordings of
Mm.
you out in the local shopping center after you've gone on your viewings. Like whatever it is, use it because you
Yeah.
do meet a lot of people through there. So I
Yeah.
definitely recommend it.
No, that's amazing. One thing that I did connect with you on social media that I saw you did a story about race. What it's
Mm,
like being a black person in
that's trying to get in
in the
trouble.
property in the property space. And I love that you spoke on that, and I just had to like send you a message that I love that you
Mhm.
actually spoke on it, because it's something that people, it exists, but people shy
Mhm.
away from talking about it, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is definitely a reality that people face. So, what have you experienced such things like being in property at all?
Yeah, definitely. It does actually break my heart because I feel like, and I think that's why I spoke on it, is that it's not spoken about. Hopefully you
Bit
guys
cut
can
out for
hear
you.
me and my Wi-Fi
Mm,
is my Wi-Fi cutting out a bit.
Oh,
a
sorry.
little bit.
Mind just starting your answer again?
Yeah, is that better? Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
yeah, got you.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just saying that it does make me feel really quite bad. It does break my heart because I
Mm,
think it's something that's not spoken about enough. And I've gone on so many trainings, I've gone to meet so many people, and no one says anything. Like it's just I just don't hear anything, and it makes you feel like, is it in my head? Like
mm,
it's almost like we create this world that in property that racism doesn't exist in property, and it does. And it's
mm,
happened to me, but more so to Shaun, and I'm quite protective of Shaun because I used to get into a space where, and let me know if you can't hear me because I know that my Wi-Fi is like telling me it's not strong connection.
It's
So
okay.
let me know if you can't
you're
hear me.
good. You're good.
Thank you. But yeah, Shaun was. I'm very protective of him, especially in the property space, because I would panic a lot at the beginning and say, "Oh, like don't wear your do-rag," although it helps to protect his hair, or
Mm,
make sure you wear smart wear, make sure you go in a suit. And I kind of was almost feeding into that narrative that black people or people of color can't be in a professional or successful setting without good reason or without someone have given them help or boosted them up
mm-hmm,
the position that they're in. So I kind of had to step down and check myself. And now I'm like, wear what you feel comfortable with, because I saw last time that someone who was of a white background or was not someone of color walked in there with leggings and trainers and they were absolutely fine. And we've
mm,
had so many stories where people are, I'm like, how did you meet that person? Oh, I was just in the gym. And I was like, okay, that's great, but would we have that same opportunity? I don't know. I don't know. I have to test it out. But I do
mm,
think it should be spoken about a lot more. And I do
mm,
think anybody out there who in property, it does exist. It's not in your head. Just because
mm,
we're in the property world doesn't mean everything outside of it no longer applies to us. It does. And when it does happen, it's not even about addressing it because I think we're too old to be educating people anymore unless it's genuine mistakes or genuine misunderstandings. Outside of that, don't bother and just reflect on yourself, what you want to achieve, and that let it drive you a little bit more. That's all I can really say on it. I just, I don't know. It makes me tired. It makes me
mm.
tired. Um,
Yeah, it's long.
yeah, it
Having
makes
to
me,
talk about it all the
yeah,
time.
it's just frustrating. I just feel sorry for, it's not even feeling sorry. I think that's even the word. It's just annoying that we have to explain ourselves and that I
Yeah.
am a professional and that you can trust me with your property and I'm not a thief and
Mm,
I'm not going to steal, and
yeah.
that not being seen in the property world because the mentality that's driven is like, oh, you can do anything, there's nobody's in your way. And it's like, no, some things are in your way and there are barriers that
100%.
some people will face that others won't. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
especially, I mean, I feel it, but I always feel it a lot more for Shaun as a black male. So
Mm,
yeah.
mm. With names like Cindy and Shaun, when you turn up to viewings,
Yeah.
do people like act surprised because it's very
Yeah.
English
Yeah.
names? Are they shocked to see that you're
Yeah.
a black couple?
Yeah, 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 1,000%, especially with Cindy. I think Shaun, I don't know. I think they do get shocked, but with myself, 100%, they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're Cindy," and I'm like, "Yes. Who were you expecting?" Like, I'm just looking for the person who they're expecting. But that definitely does happen, and I think I can even say, in a sense, that in itself is a privilege because, and I note
Mm,
that because when I
mm,
message on Open Rent, they can't see me. I purposely don't put a picture up. I
yeah.
don't put anything. I
Yeah.
just send my name, and that gets me the viewings. I genuinely believe that is what gets me the viewings because when I get there, I've had different reactions to what you were sending to me over message. Um,
Mm,
so
Mm.
yeah, it's definitely an advantage for me, and I acknowledge that 100%.
Are your landlords all from different backgrounds?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
mm,
that's good because
yeah.
I
So
feel
we have
like, go on, sorry.
No, yeah. So we have a lot of landlords from different backgrounds. I think the only landlord we don't, I mean, unless we count ourselves, is a black landlord or
Mm.
yeah, anyone from a black background. I think we've only, yeah, I think that's, yeah, I think that's literally it, except for ourselves. So yeah,
That's interesting.
Wow.
But I feel like all the work you're doing, building positive relationships with landlord, is pushing
mm,
against that horrible narrative and is basically like strengthening relationships, saying, no, I'm trustworthy. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, I feel like
Mm.
it's really good work that you're doing and you're helping to pave the way for other people as well, I'd say.
Hmm.
yeah.
I agree. I completely agree. Um, what is your aspirations for 2024? Where do you want to, what is your goals for 2024? Where do you see your business going?
To make money. To make
Girl,
money. No,
I hear
honestly,
it.
honestly, it is. I think I'd be lying if I didn't say that wasn't the main aim. Like I was like, first year was like testing the waters and growing spiritually as like a person who I want to be.
Mm.
Not just saying yes to things just because, like learning to have my boundaries in place, all those kind of things. And I think I'm starting to unravel that gradually. Um, oh, am I gone again?
You're back
You're
now.
back now.
Way back now.
Yes.
Yeah, just I think it was all about personal growth last year. So this year is
Mm.
about scaling up. We definitely want to be doing BRRs this year.
Amen.
And growing our team. Amen. Amen. I felt that one. Um, and definitely growing our team as well, because I think we're a bit overwhelmed and it might feel better when we leave work, but I want to be able to
Yeah.
focus on different things now, not just the service accommodations.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, yeah.
That's
What are your goals, guys?
oh,
Oh. Money as well.
Yeah.
Honestly, is about self-development, personal growth, and to grow the business as well. So
Yes.
really build the sourcing business side of things. And also I want to surround myself with like-minded people and just seek out opportunities. You never know who's looking at you. So yeah, growth. I think that's what 2024 is for me.
I think for me, just to be more courageous, because this I feel like I've done so much personal growth over the last year, because obviously I came out of full-time work to start the business, and I was just anxious the whole way through. But I want to be a bit bolder this year and say, no, I am a co-director of my own company, and when I'm dealing with different stakeholders, be able to say this is the standard we expect, whether it's a cleaner or an agency or whoever, and just be a bit more confident and courageous in who I am as a person, as a business owner.
Mm,
But also we'd like to turn this house that I'm currently sat in um into an entire place, SA, and then buy our family home. That is like my big goal this year. I'm ready.
Already. It's happened already. It's ready.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, like, I've seen like on social media and you always give thanks to God. Does
Yeah.
faith play a big part in how you operate your business?
yeah.
Every day. And I'm growing in my
Mm,
faith, so I never want anyone to look at me and be like, oh, she's just saying I don't know much. All I know is I am a believer. And I'm again, that is another big goal for me in 2024, just
mm,
strengthening my faith. But 1000%, I feel like if I didn't believe in something, I would lose my mind. But I'm
yeah,
just so glad that I have faith to hold on to, because those times where I'm not feeling myself or I'm just feeling like, how do I get out of this? Like, I honestly just pray and just everything feels so much better. So, yeah, it's so important to me. It really is.
yeah,
We're
I
both
hear that.
I'm a Christian and Kafilat is a Muslim as well, so we can both
Mm,
to having
Yeah,
faith as a real anchor in our lives. So
hmm.
yeah,
hear your point of view. I have a question to sort of round off, if that's okay. Do you feel ready
yeah,
for that, Kafilat?
Yes.
So have you got a favorite? Well, first of all, we need to do your two truths, one lie,
yeah.
and then we also need to do your favorite quote.
Okay, okay. So I have my two truths and a lie. Hopefully, my
Hmm.
facial
Okay.
expressions don't give anything away. Um, so the first one is, sorry, I need to compose myself. I need to compose myself. Okay. I sang in front of Tony Blair when I was
Okay.
in school.
Hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I made myself laugh. It's actually, yeah. Anyway, I've been to 34 different places around the world,
Oh,
and I
wow.
work with children and young people. So that's my
Okay.
two
So,
truths.
everyone listening, those are Cindy's two truths and one lie. There will be a poll on our social media page. Please vote, and we will reveal the answer. I think maybe 24, 48 hours we'll leave the poll up and vote, and then we'll reveal the answer. That is very interesting, though. I'm eager to know what that is as well.
Tony Blair, that's
I
hilarious.
know, right?
So, Cindy, have you got a favourite quote, something you've come across recently or maybe years ago that sort of spurs you on and really resonates with you?
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna read it because I don't
Mm,
recall it, but it actually comes from the book that I mentioned at the beginning that changed my whole perspective. So Good
Okay.
Vibes and Good Life. It's self-love is the balance between accepting yourself as you are while you deserve better and then working towards it. And it sounds so simple, but I think a lot of people think self-love is like jumping in a bubble bath. That's what I thought it was before,
mm.
but it is really about personal growth. It is really doing things for yourself, connecting with yourself, and knowing you more than anybody else can know you. So yeah, my favorite quote.
I love that so much.
Love it. Love it. Can you read it one more time for us?
Yes, of course
Yes,
I can. So it's self-love is the balance between accepting yourself as you are, whilst knowing you deserve better and then working towards it.
I love that. Absolutely love that. What a
Very
quote.
romantic, isn't it? So
It
romantic
is
love
a bit
story.
random. Yeah,
We're going to
I
post that.
love that.
We'll post that on our Instagram as well. We'll say that that was your favourite quote just to spur other people on.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely.
No, thank you so much, Cindy, for
Thank
coming on.
you.
If people want to reach out to you, how can they
Mm.
get in contact?
So I was gonna give out my number then, but I'm like, probably shouldn't do that. Probably shouldn't do that. So we have an Instagram. I would say the Instagram is the best way to get a hold of us, because
Hmm.
I'm managed. So that is at Home Unit Property. It's
Hmm.
Home Unit, not with an S. Yeah, and you can find us, DM us, and we'll definitely get back to you as soon as possible.
Yeah. Also, you have an amazing podcast.
Oh yeah, we do. We just started
Yeah,
that.
plug it, girl, plug it.
So that's also via YouTube and Spotify, and it's Home Unit Property again at Home Unit Property. And the podcast itself is called The Property Project. So yeah,
Love
I hope you
that.
guys enjoyed
No,
it. If you do
I've
listen,
I've listened to your podcast and I loved it. It
Me
was a
too.
great
thank
episode.
you,
I loved it.
thank you
So
guys,
yeah, you have to keep going on that.
thank you. We'll try.
No, perfect. And if people want to get in contact with me, I'm at Banjo Estates. Banjo, like the instrument Estates, and we also have Making the Jump Pod on Instagram as well. If you want to put faces to our voices, we will put up some clips of the episode on there as well.
Yeah, 100%. And if you'd like to follow me and my husband Dave on our journey from having an essay in our house to expanding our rent to rent business, you can follow us on Instagram at Abide Property Management. This has been an amazing episode, and we're so blessed to have had you, Cindy. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, guys. Honestly, I've had a great time. Probably rambled too much, but hey, it's what it is. But thank you
We
so
love
much.
it.
And I hope
No,
people really do listen in and connect with this podcast. So I know it's going to be amazing. And I'm so privileged. I'm just so excited to have been on this first episode. So yeah, thank you. Thank you.
no, thank you.
One
Thank you.
person.
No, thank you so much. And we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.